This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Well, hello there.
Hello there.
Yeah.
Kenobi.
I think we could both do a pretty good Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
If we did the show, we both have beards.
Yeah.
So we could do the whole show, in the Kenobi voice and see how that goes over.
The best thing about that is that Ewan McGregor was like, I'm just going to do the original Kenobi.
Yeah.
And he did a pretty good job of it, actually.
Yeah.
Of going back. Why am I blanking on the classic actor's name that portrayed the original?
Sir Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness, yeah.
Sir
Alec Guinness. My bad.
We recognize the British royalty here. So.
Yeah. Big Monarch fan, are you?
No. I'm actually, when the royal wedding and all that stuff is going on, Amanda likes to watch all of it.
Yeah.
And to me, you know how I feel about parades. It's just
in general.
It's just that, and I get that one. Okay, have a parade for that, but it's still a parade nonetheless. I accept that they should have a parade for that, but I'm still not entertained just because it's fancier.
Yeah, I love my sister, but she's a big Anglophile, and so it is up at 6 a.m. watching that.
Yeah,
I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
It's not our business.
Yeah.
That's their business.
Yeah.
That stopped being our business.
Look,
years ago.
we didn't fight in a war.
Right.
To care about that.
Right.
Listen, George Washington didn't cross the Delaware so that we cared about that. All right. Listen, America right here, and we care about American things.
Yeah.
So.
Our royal wedding is the next Kardashian.
And then we'll have a royal divorce.
Yeah.
And a royal sex tape. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. That's how we do things in America. We don't need all the pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, exactly.
We just need a place where you can buy meat on a stick.
God, can you imagine side note, can you imagine the blowback of taxpayer dollars going to a royal funded parade, wedding, or coronation, or anything like that in the climate that we live in right now?
Yeah.
We're going to shell out $50 million to put this on. For what? Huh?
Yeah. Oh, well, look, here's the thing. It's not that popular in England either.
No,
it is. It's one of those things that's
really divided,
where there are people who are really into it and they have that kind of patriotic feel for the monarchy.
Yeah.
And then there's the people who are also patriotic about England and think the monarchy is the exact opposite of that.
Ask Scottish people how they feel about it.
Exactly. That's where things are different. It's very funny to me because growing up and learning about it, you think oh well, the king must have lots of things to do, or the queen must have tons of things to do, and then you get older and you find out not. I mean, they're busy, but
it's all in. This is where I actually like what they do is that it's it takes out all the BS that we have presidents do, where it's shaking hands and kissing babies and doing all that. They do all of that.
Yeah.
And then the prime minister goes and handles
the
all
real
the
work.
policy. Yeah.
Yeah. Does
where
the real
it's
work.
this they're at the opening of this hospital or what have you. What the president doesn't do that. But you know what I'm saying? Where it's something, the pomp and circumstance, they're just send the people on the money out there.
Yeah.
And they'll go do it.
Yeah. And then the prime minister shows up when he needs to show up, but then he's the one who gets to stand out literally in front of his apartment, or his house, and is well, the economy is not doing well today. That's how I think all British prime ministers sound. They're
just all Churchill.
Yeah. Look, I'll tell you, here's the other thing. I'll tell you that they do better. You watch C-SPAN in America, occasionally somebody gets up there and says a crazy thing to a very quiet room.
Right.
Again, Congress is in session, but somebody goes down and speaks, and it's essentially to 7 people that are in there.
The people that are on the bench.
Yeah, and then everybody else is kind of doing their thing.
Yeah.
In the House of Commons, they argue and yell and
poppycock.
That's entertaining. I don't know what's going on, but man, it's something else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we have speaking of imperialism. How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? Speaking of imperialism,
that's why you pay the big bucks.
We have some conference realignment news right off the bat today. UTEP on their way to the Mountain West after 20 years in Conference USA. And Gonzaga is moving on to the Pac-12, which was reported 2 weeks ago by Brett McMurphy.
Right.
And then Gonzaga was like, it's not happening. I mean, I don't know anything about that. And then 2 weeks later, and Brett McMurphy, 4 o'clock today right here on 365 Sports, will be able to take his victory lap. So, which he's already kind of done on Twitter.
Right.
But we'd like to give him an auditory ability to do that. But Gonzaga doesn't have to add football. They don't have the infrastructure for it.
Right.
No one cares. They don't want it, and they're still going to get a full share. So they're going to get everybody else's football money.
It's a good gig if you can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, I don't think I introduced ourselves today. So this is Royden, Ogletree, and Paul Catalina, in case you were wondering.
It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. Last week we had planned to do a show, but I got caught up helping Smokey do something. And it was going to be us either starting at like 1:15 or flying in here on 2 wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Either way. And I was like, I don't want to do a show that way.
Right.
Because I would be like, all right, college football, Royden, just talk for a second while I figure out what's going on
I'm
here.
sure the audience would
appreciate that. Yeah. Like, let's lock in. He's got the A game today.
Yeah, exactly.
So I promise you this. When it comes to the triple option, if I don't have my A game, or my B game, we're just not going to do a show.
Yeah.
So if you pop on and there's one of two things happening. We have some sort of conflict. I have to do way more shows in that day. Or I simply do not have my A game because of the world around me.
Couldn't be bothered.
The walls have closed in.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sacrifice the quality of this product.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
Guys, sometimes we just don't have it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And I think more and more people need to just come on their shows or on the – I wish I could go on the news and be like, I don't have it today, guys.
Yeah.
Didn't have the capacity, to be honest with you.
Here's the thing. Here's the scores. This is what you need to know.
Yeah. Dave Aranda said this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home.
Yeah. And can you just run this again at 10?
Yeah.
Just
new audience, whatever.
Just roll it around.
Yeah.
It's what they do in SportsCenter anyway. Just roll it around. Why do we need to be here? Well, what if news breaks? Okay.
Call me.
Call me. Look, I'll teleconference in. That's fine.
Everything's on Zoom now.
Yeah. Just you drinking a Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew.
So about that.
Here's that. No. But yeah, so these are cool things, for those conferences. It's not so cool for Conference USA.
Who continues to, historically have been picked through forever.
But here's the thing about the Mountain West. They still have to both of them still have to get to full football members in the next couple years. So we don't know where the Pac-12 and Mountain West will go after this. The Mountain West made a step towards their full football members today. The Pac-12 made what I think is a good move athletically for Gonzaga and for the Pac-12, especially when it comes to rebuilding some, basketball. I mean, they've got San Diego State, really good basketball program.
Yep.
Just in the Final Four. Gonzaga regularly in Final Fours in that conference. So they building up some basketball acumen.
Well, yeah,
there.
you have to replace regardless of what you think of UCLA as a basketball program now, and they're still the greatest basketball program.
They're still the
exists.
Alabama of basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So replacing that brand was always going to be tough. So replacing it with sort of, I don't even know because they haven't won. They're
a
model day.
But they're a well-known basketball program.
Right. Everybody knows Gonzaga. So yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but
what do you think? I mean, the UTEP in the Mountain West makes sense to me. I don't have anything other than that it just computes well in my mind.
Yeah.
So does that boost their standing as a
I don't know, it gets the Mountain West back into Texas.
Yeah.
Which they lost, so we'll see. I'm curious where the Pac goes. Is it Texas State now? Because they can't have UTSA. They can't have North Texas. They can't, all those, all the schools in the American committed to the American. And basically the Memphis AD came out and said, look, we're not just going to join the Pac-12 because they say it's going to be this new thing. What are you really offering us? And they can't really say down the line. Now, for Gonzaga, it's more money no matter what. right? So this is a great move for Gonzaga. For UTEP to join the Mountain West, it's a good deal. But for Memphis or USF or UTSA to just jump and go to the Pac without any kind of guarantees as to what the future is going to be, why would you do that? What difference are you making? Like, for UTEP to go to the Mountain West, to me, is a difference-making thing.
Yeah.
For UTEP to, for UTSA to go to the Pac-12, like, well, they're just making another G5 conference, so what does it matter?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what prize do you win at this carnival if you go there? So, at least with the other schools, it feels like they're starting something new. But for any school that's in the American already that has a better TV deal than all of them right now, why would you jump ship?
It does feel to me a little bit like the Pac-12 is, and this was always the case when they were almost obliterated, but they're just hanging on. So it will kind of reform a group of 5 conference regardless.
Yeah.
Like Gonzaga, good school, obviously awesome basketball school, but like throwing in some of these schools and their football programs who have had varying degrees of success at the group of 5 level into yourself and now calling yourself a Power 5 conference again. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think your point stands where it all of a sudden is just another group of 5 conference by another name. That's unfortunate for the Pac-12. I always loved the Pac-12 and stayed up late watching those games. But yeah, it doesn't – I'm not sure how much it moves the needle adding the for lack of a better term, the leftovers of the rest of those conferences.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't do anything for me, right?
Not moving the needle for you.
Yeah, not moving the needle for me. But I'm glad. Look, if everybody can make their situation better in this crazy, crazy world, more power to you.
Yeah, I think Texas State would actually benefit from it, but again, it doesn't boost. Nobody's looking at Texas State from the outside. We down here are like, oh yeah, that would be cool. And Texas State is on the come up with a lot of their stuff, but somebody in Georgia or wherever isn't going to look at Texas State going to the Pac-12 and be like, oh no,
yeah,
what does that do for us? Nothing, not really.
All right, I have another realignment thing, and it came out in the Wall Street Journal today. There's another group, I think it's called College Sports Tomorrow, that has come up with a 2-tiered system of realignment where it would be like a 2-tiered FBS, where the top tier would have 72 teams and the bottom tier would have the rest, but 2 teams from the bottom tier would get into what would ultimately be a 24-team playoff, which, as a person who favors an expanded playoff, sometimes too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, you can have too much of a good thing. Like, it's donuts all 3 meals a day. Like,
diabetes.
Yeah, exactly. But here are the conferences they came up with. 12 6-team conferences based on regionality.
So pods, basically.
Yeah. So, yes, pods. Okay, and I'll tell you this right off the bat. As much as people may like this or think that this is a good idea and the way you can match up pods and schedule throughout the year would be pretty cool,
Yeah.
But, probably NFL level scheduling where it's 2 from here, 2 from here, 2 from here.
Rotate after everybody has to play.
Yeah, exactly. To get your 12-game schedule. But the East pod, and I'm going to go through all 12 of these, so bear with me. We're going to read 72 names out loud.
I need to take some notes.
Okay. The East pod would be Boston College, Maryland, Navy, Notre Dame, Virginia, and Virginia Tech.
Love it.
Okay. The Mideast pod, which is not maybe a great name for.
The Middle East pod?
Yeah. Yeah, the Mideast pod. Yeah, maybe not the
Let's
best.
workshop that a little bit.
Yeah, let's work on that. But they called it the Mideast pod. Already thinking that this group doesn't quite, maybe not the ones we want in charge of this.
Right.
Cincinnati, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, Syracuse, and West Virginia.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on Middle East pod.
Yeah. Cincinnati, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, Syracuse, West Virginia.
Yeah, I already love the regionality of all of it, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. The Great Lakes pod. Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Michigan State, Northwestern, Purdue.
Okay.
The Midwest pod. Iowa, Iowa State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio State, Wisconsin.
Ooh, Ohio State would.
By the way, I would like to point out that Ohio State and Michigan are in different pods. So
A lot of people would love that.
Would you like to hear the definition of non-starter?
Yeah.
The Carolinas pod. Clemson, Duke, NC State, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Wake Forest.
Okay.
The Mid-South pod. Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, Louisville, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. Would you like to hear the second definition of non-starter? Alabama being in the same conference as Louisville.
Why do you think that?
I think if they wanted Louisville in the conference, Louisville would already be in the conference. So, the Southeast pod.
Okay.
Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Miami, and UCF.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun. If 5 of the games on the schedule were those 5 games every year, I'd love that.
I think this sort of thing, obviously, and this is why we've gotten away, like people complain about there's no regionality in the sport anymore, and it's weird when you're watching Wisconsin play USC this past weekend. Good game, by the way. But anyway, it's weird when you're watching that happen. I think this is why I've always wanted it, because it works to the fact that the in-state rivalries then mean something again. And I think then you have, because alumni historically sort of live within an hour's reach of where they went to school, at least in Texas, it seems like. At least everything's within 2 to 3 hours of the bigger cities. But, I have to imagine there's a lot of like Florida State alumni that live near and around Tallahassee. Mm-hmm. So the idea that then these games become bigger to me.
Yeah.
And they're easier to get to, and the fan bases can go so on and so on.
Yeah. Okay. South pod. LSU, Arkansas, Houston, Memphis, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. Garrett.
That sucks. I don't want to watch any of that.
Okay,
I don't care.
So you're going to take LSU out of the definitely playing Alabama and Tennessee and Florida every year, and say for sure you're getting Houston and Memphis guys.
Hey,
you can run it you could easily win that almost every year and be set up in the playoff, but none of that makes me want to go and watch those games. None of those matchups outside of Ole Miss. I don't care.
Yeah. Okay. Plains. This is the Plains pod.
The
Plains.
Delta region.
Yes. Colorado, Kansas, Kansas State, Mizzou, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State.
Colorado, Kansas State, Mizzou,
Kansas,
OU,
Oklahoma State.
OU, Oklahoma. Okay.
So here's the thing.
We're bringing back the Big Eight.
Border War and Bedlam. So there's what you said. Hey, listen, we realize that we might have created a situation where Ohio State and Michigan has lower stakes on it, but you can have the border war back.
Yay! Sure, all of college football would rejoice.
I'm looking at this and going, all right, I get where you're going, but you're really eliminating a lot of things, or potentially eliminating things that need to be on a year-to-year basis, and scheduling all 72 teams together to make sure rivalries happen is going to be harder now.
Yeah.
Right? The Texas pod. Baylor, SMU, TCU, Texas, Texas A&M, and Texas Tech.
Sure.
Okay.
Welcome back, Southwest Conference.
Would you also like to hear another non-starter, Texas being shoved back into playing teams that they have twice with SMU and TCU, told them we don't want to be a conference with a part of you, and with Baylor, I guess A&M, they went to them, but A&M too, Texas A&M have told all these teams, we're not interested in a relationship with you. Texas has also told them that. And now they're oh no, reunited, it feels so good.
This would be like if your ex got a job at your current place of employment.
Yeah.
And I say, Let's get nasty.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. The Southwest Pod, Arizona, Arizona State, Cal, Stanford, UCLA, and USC.
Okay.
And the West Pod would be BYU, Oregon, Oregon State, Utah, Washington, and Wazoo.
Look, all of it technically makes sense in my brain, except for like the non-protected rivalries portion of it.
I mean, I'm sure there are protected rivalries, but I think the logistics of making this work are nuts.
No, right, but it's something that I had even suggested on this show as well too, where you divide it. I don't think breaking it down to this many sort of pods or conferences was ever going to work. I always thought that it was which is also something that would never work, is the relegation model, which I had gone into detail, I think, over a year ago on this show. But the idea of making things more regional, getting back to that feel of high school talent playing regional high school talent again, which most of these schools hopefully are recruiting from their regions. That's kind of how it's all historically worked. Now less so, but Ohio State still dips into Florida. Who doesn't? But the idea of getting back to sort of making it a more regional sport instead of trying to branch out nationally and to get a foothold into what the NFL is doing is what it feels like. Makes more sense to me for college football. The 2014 playoff is also a non-starter. Yeah. We're asking these kids to play too many games. It's getting down to, it's like we're simply going to be playing too many games.
Yeah.
And right now with this playoff, it will now equate to one full NFL season is what they're going to end up playing, 16, 17 games. But there has to be like a 2-round bye for some teams, right? With that thing. So, I don't know. I think you're going to ask college kids to go out there and play 18, 19 games.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah.
Especially when all of them aren't getting paid NFL money. So, yes, also non-starter, but the idea in theory is there. We need to iron it out a little bit more and also get rid of the name Middle East for one of the
no, it's Mid-East.
Yeah.
So it's the average
East. Yeah,
it's
the Mid-East Conference.
Yeah, this is what we're telling you. No, it has nothing to do with a very turbulent region of the world.
Right.
It has everything to do with this is how we feel as the creators of this conference, and that it's East, but it's
over here. We have the Soviet Russia pod,
but it's very mid.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, it's East, but it's so mid.
It's
yeah, and they
gives you the ick.
They asked me, I asked my 15-year-old son what he thought about this particular pod, and he's like, dude, it's so mid.
Yeah.
It's so mid. Doesn't do anything for me. It's mid.
Got it. Thank you. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
I always come to
guys, what do you think
ideas.
about this? Mid-East. And makes sense. And then one 50-year-old guy's like, bet.
Yeah. Sick, bro.
Awesome.
Cool. Awesome ideas.
Yeah, I'm divorced. My girlfriend's 22, so she's into that.
She said tie.
I just bought a charger.
The interest rate is unbelievable.
Yeah.
15%.
So when we come back, let's talk coaches on the hot seat. I'm curious on your opinion on some of these.
Really great stuff going around here, too.
Yeah. I'm going to throw out a coach, and I want you to tell me whether you think hot seat is justified or unjustified.
Sounds good.
Okay. And then,
because if I was going to have to come up with this on my own.
If it's justified, then you have to justify it.
Okay, good.
Okay. So this is all about you, Royden.
Yeah. The homework portion of this is I didn't know I had homework.
Yeah, you don't. So that's the thing. It's pop quiz. It's a pop quiz. It's a pop quiz.
It's going to really test my knowledge.
Yeah. It's going to be a pop quiz. So when we come back, pop quiz, coaches in the hot seat with Royden Ogletree. This is 365 Sports.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Royden, Ogletree, great to see you. We didn't see you last week.
I know.
I did see you the week before, and then we did the pregame together when you were in Boulder.
Yeah, and that ended up great.
So we'll start. Here's the thing. We'll start here, and we'll move out.
Okay.
When it comes to the pop quiz. I'll give you an easy one to start. And this is your professional opinion.
Okay, good. I'm glad this is on the record.
Professional opinion on the record.
Yeah.
In the hot seat quiz, justified, unjustified, Dave Aranda.
Do I get – oh, I was going to say, do I get a daily double?
Maybe.
Dave Aranda. All right. So I think it is justified. Will it come to fruition? No. And I guess that's not part of the hot quiz, pop quiz. Pop quiz. Hot seat quiz.
Yeah.
No, I think it's justified. Look, I don't think he's lost that locker room per se, and I don't have anything to base this off of other than what they have said. But the idea that half the fan base, or even more than half the fan base, or at least the most vocal majority online, you've lost them. You've obviously lost the support of fair weather fans because that stadium. Look, it was an 11 a.m. kick against a 4-0 team. It was hot. I was there. Maybe that justifies poor attendance. Maybe it doesn't. But so you've lost the confidence of a good majority of your fan base. But other than that, it is kind of glaring. You're 2-14 or 2-12 in your last 16 conference games. You're 0-9 versus Power 5 opponents in the past 2 years, going back to last year or something like that. There was several stats that people were throwing out. You cannot have a descending amount of you can't have, it's not success, but the amount of regression that you've seen, at least statistically and in the win column, you just can't have a continuous digression of wins.
Well, look, they have no home field advantage right now.
Nope.
I mean, it's just not there. There are
BYU travels well. I get that, but they were firmly in there this weekend.
Yeah, you gotta retake.
Everything is the calculus after that Colorado win or loss. If you're Baylor, the calculus was reset on this entire thing because I said on Pete Souza's show, it is going to affect the psyche of an already tattered fan base.
Who told you could do Pete Souza's show?
Pete.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if
You're not my boss.
I don't know how I feel about you just hanging out with Pete. I mean, I like Pete.
He treats me better than you ever. No, I just think that loss recalibrated a lot of where this was heading, and I think it really damaged the psyche of of a fan base already in tatters. So I think the idea that you can continue having a bad product on the field and expect that people aren't going to revolt is kind of asinine. And do I like Dave Aranda? Yes, I think he's a very good guy, and I think those players like playing for him, especially when But it's also the fact of getting players to come play in Waco, getting players you need that will help you regain success. And by all accounts, they've had done a better job on the recruiting trail as of late. But you're already behind the 8 ball, and you've been behind the 8 ball for a couple of years after that Big 12 championship. So, yeah, the idea that you can keep falling and continue to be in free fall and expect that we're going to keep climbing up. And look, maybe they win 4 games in a row, and all of a sudden we're sitting here and like, okay, well, he has a long time on his contract. Let's see if we can keep building on this. Sure. I just think if it continues to be in free fall and slide downhill, you can only have so many moral victories before moral victories have to become actual victories.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
And it would be a tough pill to swallow financially and otherwise to get rid of Dave Aranda, but it's something you would have to look at really, really hard in the offseason.
Yeah. Okay. We'll make it. Okay, that was a good starter one for you.
Okay.
I'm going to give you another easy one.
Did I grade out okay?
You're doing fine so far.
Sure. Okay.
Billy Napier.
Oh, nah. Nah. Let it keep going. Why not? See how he can do. No, he's done. I think, like, you're 2-2, so it's not – the sky isn't completely falling. I think people in Gainesville would tell you that it is. But, you know, that loss to A&M hurt really bad at home. You bounce back and beat a bad Mississippi State team. UCF looks a little more manageable than it did a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden you beat UCF, you're 3-2, but then you get into Tennessee. Kentucky's better than we thought. Georgia, Texas. I can keep going down. We can play the schedule game.
Yeah.
They're going to get out of the season like with another 4-8 season.
If they're lucky.
And
I think if he loses to UCF this week,
yeah,
that's over, especially seeing how their alumni feel about UCF.
Yeah.
Like they're like no matter what UCF's actual position is,
yeah,
like what they actually are, they're not seen that way by Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less than. Look, I liked Billy Napier going to Florida. I always thought it would actually kind of work. Now kind of realizing that getting rid of Dan Mullen might have been dumb, but especially after he won 10 games. But it's just not working. And people don't seem to like him around the university. So you cannot, one, be unliked, and two, be bad. You could probably be one or the other and maintain your job a little bit longer than you would. You could be bad and well liked, and they keep you around for another year, or you could be unliked and good, and they'll keep you around forever. But I just don't think the writing's on the wall, and you've said as much. You said before we came on is like dead man walking. So I can't add much more to that.
Dave Dorn at NC State, who built that program on defense, and they have one of the worst in the country this year.
Oof. He'll hang around, I think, a little bit longer, but I think they spent a lot of money, of course, like in NIL, it looks like. They bring in Grayson McCall, who just hasn't worked, unfortunately, because I had a lot of Grayson McCall stock. But that hadn't worked, and you're competing in what essentially was supposed to be with Florida State now seemingly in free fall, a more than wide open ACC, and you don't have it. Tough look.
Yeah.
Tough look. We'll see how it goes the rest of the year and if they beat their rivals and so on and so forth. But when your other programs are having as much success as they are, and NC State has been a really fun football program over the past few years. It's tough when your basketball program is making Final Fours and stuff and you're losing. Now that shouldn't other sports success shouldn't equate to what you're doing on the football field. Mm-hmm. But you got to take a look at it and be like, well, we're succeeding in all these other things, baseball, basketball, all this stuff. What's happening with our football program?
Yeah.
It's the microscope starts to tighten in a little bit more. I think he's fine for right now.
Yeah.
But warm.
Yeah.
Warm seat.
Okay. Sam Pittman at Arkansas.
He's done.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Here's why I think so, and see if you agree with me. That A&M game was a tough one because they just don't win it.
Mm-mm.
And Jerry Jones made that happen so he could have his team playing against a team he hated when he was playing at Arkansas at A&M. Like, he wanted to see that, and only a couple times has that worked out for him.
Yeah.
Like,
and
he sets up the whole party, and then A&M comes in and crashes it, right? I just don't think and so if he doesn't like that, and there's a lot of other big money people, the chicken man, Mr. Tyson, probably doesn't like it either.
I think the Waltons really like him.
Yeah, I think that's just one of those things. They like Sam Pittman. Tim Brando told us yesterday he thinks Sam Pittman can get through it. I just wonder, when do the crazy start popping out going, like, look, we keep losing to A&M.
Yeah.
They've got Taylon Green right now who's got a lot of potential. Let's not waste this opportunity.
Yeah, I think like that game against A&M was tough because watching it and, A&M was flying around on defense, but the problem was they had so many opportunities to not put it away, but like take the lead and hold on to it. And A&M really didn't close the door on it until the very end. But it when you're losing in front of Jerry in a game that that he has set up, an artificial rivalry that he has made, I don't think it goes very well. Like I'm sure that Jerry's having a really tough time handing that trophy over to A&M. They had managed success when he started, and then it's kind of like a Dave Aranda thing. It was like really good when they started, and then it just has not been good since. I think didn't they go 4-8 last year? Like, I could have that wrong, but I think that they played hard for him this weekend. I will say, but you have to recalibrate what you're doing there, especially if you have another free fall season like they did last year.
Yeah.
You also have to rethink about like what does success mean to us at Arkansas at this stage.
Yeah.
And maybe they say we're the only show in town, so it should be great, but I don't know.
Brent Pry, Virginia Tech.
It's tough. They're losing games stupidly. and probably they may have been hosed on that last call against Miami in general. But going in and losing, they lost to Vanderbilt early on, right? Mm-hmm. Tough.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's better, but tough. Losing to Miami the way you did. You said doing a fake field goal up 10 or whatever.
Up 10 and then like kind of woke Miami up. Now look, Cam Ward played so great in that game, but then you could lose it on a controversial call, on a it could have gone either way.
What is a catch?
Yeah. What is the catch? What was going on? I think the ACC made the right call.
Yeah.
I think they made the right call. The ball was moving too much to say it was a catch at any point until the end, but also the out of bounds guy was touching the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's in a season where it has been wide open. You start out in the ACC. You start out 0-1 in the ACC. You start out 2-3 in general. And you lose to Rutgers and you lose to Vanderbilt, and these games that you had kind of marked on your schedule. And again, Rutgers is better. Vanderbilt is better than they've been. But, you mark these games where it's like, we have Kyron Jones at quarterback. He's going to take the next step. He's going to be Heisman.
He looked good the other night.
Yeah,
so.
and he is good. He's a good football player. But, like, he's going to take the next step and be this Heisman candidate. And we're going to be back to the days of Vic and company. Yeah. And it ain't that. No. So, I don't know.
Okay. Last but certainly not least.
Kirby Smart.
Hot seat, maybe not, but retirement seat, Mac Brown.
Yeah, I think he's done.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look good anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have anything, but like getting blown out to JMU, like by JMU the way that they did.
I mean, he was like quit for a second after the game.
He quit?
Yeah. I mean, he like retired for a second after the game in his feelings.
Oh, yeah.
And then they talked him out of it. So,
yeah, not great. Not a great look. I think giving up that many points to James Madison, a good football program. But, going down like 70 to James Madison is sort of the precursor to now they're 3-2. They lost to Duke.
Yeah.
Also not a good look.
They blew a lead to Duke too.
Yeah. Lost to James Madison. You got 70 points hung on you by them. Yeah, they're just playing sloppy football. That game against Minnesota to start the year. And look, all football to start the year, you've even seen it in the NFL, is sloppy football.
Yeah.
We just are there now for some reason. Nobody plays perfect to start any year. But that game was, I don't know if y'all stayed up late and watched that, disaster. It was people throwing picks and then throwing picks back to the other team and then throwing a pick and fumbling and just like fumbling out of the back of your own end zone. It was just awful football to watch. And so I should have known that it was like, oh, maybe we don't have a lot of control over what's happening here anymore. But I think he's probably – they may scrounge together a bowl game, but great career, Mac. Good job. Thanks for getting us back on track here at UNC a little bit, getting us some top 10 quarterbacks, boosting the brand of UNC football. We'll see what Michael Jordan has to say about your tenure, like going forward. I think he's just the time comes for us all, you know?
Yeah. When we come back, we're gonna.
How did I do?
You did good. You passed.
Thank you.
You passed. We're gonna play. Who is the Big 12? What is the Big 12? Why is the Big 12?
Okay.
In honor of Drax, why is Gamora?
Why is Gamora?
We're going to do that.
Do it. I can take it.
Here we go. Why is the Big 12? Because it's already getting nutty.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that next. This is 365 Sports.
Fantasy Sports EVO, the next evolution of daily fantasy sports. Tired of traditional fantasy sports where you spend hours upon hours studying individual players? EVO's unique team-based platform makes it easier than ever for all sports fans to play. No need to know individual players. Just choose your contest, select your teams, and enjoy the game. Whether you access our website from a desktop, mobile device, or the app, the experience is the same. EVO is for all sports fans. Join Fantasy Sports EVO and experience the evolution.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
You know, here's what sucks about being a working man.
Okay. Well,
And I say that like
let's unfurl the list.
Royden and I are about to go out and like retar the street.
Yeah, exactly. Real hard jobs that we have here.
Yeah, we're gonna go redo the asphalt there on 9th Street.
Mm-hmm. I have a roof to pave after that.
Yeah,
Pave.
roof to pave. Exactly. See, there we go.
Yep. These
I-
hands have seen some tools.
I once went into a hardware store to buy
How was that?
drill bits and forgot the name drill bits.
Oh.
And I was like, I have a drill. I need the like.
I need to think that goes.
The judgment.
Yeah.
The guy, and I was standing right near it, and he was like, the drill bits?
Yeah.
And honestly, my response, because of his attitude, was like, F you, Carl.
Yeah. You know how many times that I will just
I have a DeWalt drill. Take me to the DeWalt bits. I forgot the word for a second. Don't tell me you, Mr. 50-year-old man, hasn't forgotten the words. But I think it was the...
Yeah, I mean, I'll do you one better. This isn't just like, this has nothing to do with hardware. Although I will go to a hardware store and like, if I don't know what I need, I just won't ask for help.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll find out or I'll leave.
Yeah.
And do a quick Google. One time I was sitting at the pin pad for the ATM and I just forgot my pin number. It just, I felt like I felt like I had forgotten who I was. And I just I had an out of body experience where people were like starting to stack up and you start sweating. And I was just like,
do you know my pin?
yeah, I was like, hey, are you my mother? And I was just, oh no. And so I left and then I had to go get a new pin in the bank. And they were like, what was your old pin? I was like, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
No, thank you. And they looked at me like I was crazy, which in fact, I thought I had gone a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Hated that.
So, why is Gamora? Why is the
Gamora?
Big 12? It's not looking great for this conference to have a team that wins a game in the playoff right now, to me. but it is looking great for the enjoyment of if the season ended without the playoff.
Oh, this would be
Like
hilarious.
if this was like English Premier League where you don't want to go to a playoff, you're just trying to get points on the table and win the league.
Yeah.
This would be so fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is not how it works, though.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So since it doesn't, the Big 12 to me would be.
We have championships in America, which is stupid. Why do we do that? Now, don't yell at me. I know there's the bigger championship out, the European Cup, but like whatever.
No, but look, winning the Premier League is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is awesome. Yeah,
they're thrilled. But I do think I'm going to ask. Like I'm going to have
there be no championship game for that is weird. Though.
I need to get Jack on and. We'll have to go through which conference would have the best, if this was European soccer, would have the most exciting table of a conference season. I think that's a kind of a cool comparison. I mean, it's probably the SEC, but maybe not. Maybe it is the Big 12 because everything's even. And yeah, he's shrugging at that.
Well, there's that. The problem with the Premier League is that there's like 3 teams that could probably actually win it, and then occasionally you have a Leicester.
So that's like the SEC.
Yeah, occasionally you have the Leicester City.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what. It's like it pretty much never. You have like 3 teams that have $1 billion.
Yeah,
and then that shouldn't have happened. But the idea of that league that you just don't have a champion, you're just waiting on the last day to see what happens with the final match.
Yeah.
Oh, they draw, we win, and they're just like,
look. There was a time in my life where I thought that was dumb.
Yeah,
but knowing that like. Everything that happens around you, in spite of what you do, can affect you.
Yeah.
Adds so much drama to it. And that happens in, like, look, it happened to just yesterday. The Arizona Diamondbacks. Yeah. The Arizona Diamondbacks are sitting around going, like, I hope one team, like.
I hope both teams lose.
Go Mets or Braves. And then, like, afterwards, it's like, hey, Mets, can you go ahead and win this one? And the Mets are like, no, Francisco Lindor's like 8 beers deep now.
We're a little tired.
So, no. And we're going to start a guy who has one other start this year.
Yeah,
so.
we don't really feel like it in Arizona. What the hell, dude?
Like, here's the thing. If we have Atlanta, there's a better chance that we stay in our own time zone.
Yeah.
So, that's great.
We want to travel
We know
over
them.
there.
We don't, like,
Arizona, you have your own time zone. I don't like it.
Yeah. Shouldn't have had Corbin Carroll hitting 190 before the break.
Yeah.
Like those
Should have thought about those things.
But, all right, so let's get into the Big 12. Utah can't win and put anything together reasonably without Cam Rising. We've seen that now over 2 seasons.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know how good Isaac Wilson's going to be in the long term, but clearly,
He'll be fine, but he's young.
But yeah. So, but right now, look, Utah was the favorite. BYU, who even their own people, surrogates, were like, you'd say, how do you think they're going to be? And they're like, I mean, I just,
Are we going to fire Kalani Sitake? Like,
I don't think they thought that because he's just beloved.
Yeah.
But it's like, are we going to have to, is Kalani going to have to make a shift in styles and all these things that they've been doing? And the answer to that so far with a 5-0 BYU team is no. Now, do I think this is the team that, long term is going to keep up this kind of pace? Probably not. But, they're 17th in the country right now. They're rolling along, and they just seem to do everything right. They play Arizona. They're up off this week. Then they have Arizona. Should be really interesting. Oklahoma State at home, and that team looks like the wheels are about to fall off. UCF on the road. Utah on the road for the Holy War. So Kansas, who wheels are off at Kansas. Arizona State might be interesting, and then Houston, that didn't have wheels to start the season.
Yeah,
so
they're building the car.
Yeah, exactly. They're excited when they're like, hey, we found a chassis.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's it. So could they wind up in the Big 12 championship game?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. But, Colorado gets absolutely embarrassed, humiliated, emasculated, like whatever you want to say, against Nebraska. And then since then has been kind of a complete, like, even in the first half against Baylor, most of the game against Baylor didn't look that great either. And then now all of a sudden, the last 10 minutes they played against Baylor and every second they played, save for a couple against UCF, have been dominant.
Yep.
So what is going on in this league, Royden? Tell me what is going on.
Well, it's what everybody thought. Like it's what the Big 12 even branded itself as. In the foresight of the conference PR people, good on you, because they knew that it was going to be the most competitive conference in America, the most competitive conference in college football. Anybody has a chance to win. What they didn't think about with that, and now I'm not saying there should be some overlord of the Big 12 conference that constantly has its foot on the plebs of the rest of the conference and doesn't allow for people to rise or fall. The problem with that is that now it's just more Big 12 than it's ever been, where everyone is killing each other.
They've made football exactly like basketball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've done their job in that respect, and good on the commissioner and everyone else. I'm sure that's not necessarily what they wanted to happen, but it's what they have branded as much as saying, and it worked. So what they are is the quote-unquote most competitive conference within themselves. Are they competitive outside of their conference? I'm not sure. But the idea that we're all just going to beat up on each other and there's going to be this mass amount of parity is something that has come to fruition. And why is the Big 12? Why is that happening? Is because you took a lot of semi-competitive teams. Utah won the Pac-12 a couple of times, but so they're probably the biggest get. But semi-competitive teams in the Pac-12, really competitive team in BYU, and you throw them in with a bunch of other teams that were in various stages of competitiveness in the Big 12 without, again, an overlord, and they have all now since descended upon each other and transgressed against one another. And I think that the who, what, when, where, why, and how is all the same thing. I think it's just a bunch of the competitive balance is top to bottom. Sans Houston, who's trying to find their way. But is this what they wanted to happen? And we were even going to have a discussion on the Big 12 show that we're now producing at KWCX is this what they wanted to happen? I don't know, because now you're looking at you have the automatic conference bid into the tournament, but the idea that they would put in a 2-loss Big 12 team, say they put in a 2-loss, would a 2-loss Georgia automatically gets in over a 2-loss Iowa State. It just is what it is. And maybe they have the branding behind that and the years of success that back that. But you're now looking at, well, did they really go through the gauntlet, or did they all beat themselves up? And maybe Big 12 fans would argue that everybody beating themselves up, this is the most competitive conference, but Georgia circumnavigated the gauntlet of the SEC to only get 2 wins. It's like the flirting versus harassment meme. Mm-hmm. It's like flirting, Georgia, 2 wins, harassment, Kansas State, 2 wins, or 2 losses is what I'm trying to say. Ew, get away.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I'm coughing.
Well, there's a cough button right there. See? Look at that. See, so now you can just see him cough and not hear him cough.
Sure, everybody loves it. I just coughed right into that mic.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the cough button. You can just...
I had to call high school football the other night, and I was coming off of being sick, and I hadn't coughed all day. I started talking for an hour, and I was just like, I'm gonna throw up and die.
So I'm going to tell you this. Here's a little trade secret that I learned from a couple different play-by-play guys. There's a tea you can buy that helps out with that when you're having these problems. And I'm going to tell you the name, and you have to get past the name and probably find it on your own without asking somebody at the grocery store where it is.
Oh, okay. So
or order it online.
Hardware thing.
It's called Throat Coat. Yeah. So not the best name.
Okay. All right.
It's actually quite good tea. I mean,
okay, sure.
It's good. A nice little hot tea. Get your throat coat. It'll make you feel better. But again, if you walk into a grocery store and say, I'm looking for throat coat. You'll be like, sir, you take your filthy mouth outside. You're like, no. No, it's tea. Oh, I bet it is.
Yeah.
I bet it is, pervert.
Yeah.
You get out of here or I put you on a list.
Yeah, you can find throat coat on Backpages. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
Well, and the thing is, if you Google throat coat, you're either going to get the tea or something you didn't want to see.
Right, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
the glasses thing that you subscribe to as well.
Peepers.
Peepers, yeah.
Peepers.
Peepers, you can get, okay, you know what? No.
These right here. Peepers.
Throat coat.
Throat coat.
Yeah, throat coat with a little honey.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
It's
it'll
what
fix
I
you
do.
right up.
Fix you right up. Yeah. So you can either get it at the store or in a back alley. So depending on what you want.
Why were you late for work? Well, look.
Either in the CVS or behind it. One of those two
throat
things.
coat is the tea for you.
So there you go. We've got Brett McMurphy this afternoon. We've
Yeah, we
got
do.
the voice of UTEP. We've got Ari Temkin. We have John McClain if he's out of the Astros game by 5:30, which probably should be.
It's going quick right now. Let me see.
So,
You can't tell I'm ready for playoff. I'm ready to be hurt by playoff baseball.
oh, yeah. Well, at least you get to have that option. So, Tigers up 2-0, top of the second.
Oh, I'm going to die.
Do you feel about the Detroit Tigers how the University of Florida feels about the University of Central Florida?
I feel nothing of the Detroit Tigers.
Then yes, you absolutely do.
Good for them. They are competitive, and they weren't supposed to be. And but AJ Hinch getting his
3-0.
players. Oh, good. Yeah, from a real Des, way to show up.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. The AJ Hinch getting his players to single us to death is going to like the death by 1,000 cuts. I'm gonna go crawl in a hole somewhere.
Okay. Well, also, like, they have – and this is a bad matchup for everybody, but Tarek Skubal
Yeah, he's really good.
is pitching today, so that's going to be tough.
Well, I said, like –
it's not a one-game series, so it's –
yeah, I know, but, like, this postseason baseball does something that, like, no other sport – and maybe we'll see this with the playoff format with college football, but, like, it does something that no other sport does where I know it's a long game – and I know it can be a longer series. The thing, though, as soon as your players strike out, like he sets down the side in like 10 pitches, I want to put my foot through a wall. I don't know why postseason baseball does that.
well, 5 pitches in the first.
Yep.
So
Or it's just
as we
like
head to the bottom of the second.
yeah. Well, it's like as you've watched them, play all year, like they're a good team. They made the playoffs, but all of a sudden it's just like no one's good on this team. Everyone sucks. Why did we even bother? Like all the emotions start draining out of you. And look, the Astros have had more postseason success than just about anybody in the MLB over the last 10 years. But
I honestly, like, I cannot believe the Tigers are in the playoffs given their lineup.
oh, it's awful.
I mean, you look at the stats and they have 2 good hitters.
Mm-hmm.
2 good
But
hitters.
it doesn't matter because the MLB playoffs are a random championship generator.
Yes. Well, which makes them great.
Yeah, which makes them great and awful.
Yeah. Like there are 2
Makes me
players.
want to pull my hair
There
out.
are 2 players on this team that I would say, yes, please give them to me.
Yeah, like Riley Green.
And Matt Vierling.
Yeah.
Verling.
Yeah, Verling.
Verling.
I mean, also like their pitchers, they've got there because their pitchers are really good, and that's really all that matters in October. But the thing is like I want to die every time that like.
So let me ask you this:
If
how
Jose
do you-
Altuve pops up to center field one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. He's the best Astro ever.
How do you feel about this potentially being when the Astro season is over? Alex Bregman's last series as an Astro.
I think it stinks because he started off slow, and so everybody was like, "All right, well, I guess this is going to be easier to swallow." Everybody on the Astros started off slow.
He closed great.
Incredible. He ended up with like 25 home runs again. He walks a ton. He does all the things and then they replaced him the last game with a kid that just wasn't ready to be at third base, and he made 4 errors in a row.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, oh, I haven't had to worry about that for 10 years. I haven't had to worry about a dude booting the ball around the infield for like 10 years. That's really good. It's a fickle sport, man. It's like the success rate of players past 32 years old.
Yeah.
It's like really, really tough.
Yeah.
And he's going to want like a 7-year contract.
Yeah.
You can get out of any contract in the MLB or whatever. Any contract is negotiable in sports. The problem is it's like, I want him to stay. Do I want to watch the years of regression of Alex Bregman? No, I do not.
No.
So
and like it's highly
inside
unlikely
me are
that he's
two
going to be a
wolves.
guy like Beltre, who after 30 got better.
no, and most
Yeah.
players don't. Like you just saw
Yeah.
what happened. The Angels are the kings of this, where it's like player after 30, I got to give him like even Nolan Arenado, who has been an all-star, has not been the same player that he was in Colorado
Yeah.
for St. Louis. So it's just like tough.
All right. Because you don't know how to use the cough button, and clearly you've been talking too long, I'm going to let you go get that throat coat in whatever fashion you decide.
No, thank you. I'm fine.
Probably cost you about $15 either way.
Oh. Oh, what's more bang for your buck at that point?
Yeah. So just think about that in the car ride.
Yeah.
So one of them I know will make your throat feel better. The other one will,
You might have to go get tested.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't really want that for you. So I
I
like
don't
it
have
too
I have a
much.
busy schedule.
All right. We'll see you in an hour, everybody.